So, what if I told you that for the owners of the world's largest platforms, you are nothing but an inefficient biological processor? Would you be mad at me? Well, recently Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, was confronted with the brutal energy cost of artificial intelligence, and his response was more or less like that. It was a declaration of philosophical war. You can call it that way. He said, and I quote, creating a human also takes a lot of energy. So stop and think about this. For the first time in the history of technology, the industry leader is not selling a tool to help humans. He is presenting an alternative to humans. If the energy cost is the same, well, in the cold logic of platform capitalism, it makes no difference whether you feed a brain made of meat or a server made of silicon. The difference, well, silicon doesn't sleep, doesn't go on strike, and it belongs to them. Actually, I don't know if that's a difference. For them, we belong to them as well. I don't know. In today's episode of InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles, we are going to dissect this paradigm shift, this shift in paradigm. We will use transition science to understand how the E/ACC movement and long-termism are shaping the funding decisions you are applying for right now. So today's decision question is vital for your sovereignty. Are we building the future of humanity, or are we funding the infrastructure of our own obsolescence? This episode of InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles, is brought to you by my new book, Transition Science in the Economy. In it, I use data from more than 180 countries and 150,000 observations, data points, to show how five global shifts, five global transitions, the digital, the green, the new globalization, the transition to a war economy, and the housing crisis transition, how these five transitions are collapsing the middle class and rewriting prosperity and power. So if you want a clear map of today's economy and economic chaos, search for Transition Science in the Economy on Amazon and get your copy. Let's move past the philosophy and talk about strategy. For those of you deciding whether to allocate your 2026 research and development budgets, the ideology driving Silicon Valley is called effective accelerationism, EAC, and long-termism. It's more than an intellectual debate. It is the blueprint for why I call in transition science the architectures of exclusion. These architectures are designed to extract architecture-based rents by locking you into closed ecosystems. When Sam Altman equates the energy cost of a human to an AI, he is telling you exactly how their business model works. They view humans as obsolete biological units, and they plan to internalize all the productivity gains while pushing systemic costs onto the rest of us. In transition science, we call these social externalities. Platform capitalism systematically externalizes the cost of data extraction, energy grid strain, labor precarity. And if you are an entrepreneur or a EU consortium leader and your business model relies on platforms that treat humans as obsolete, you are entirely ignoring the biggest regulatory and market risk of the next decade. The European Union is actively legislating against these exact externalities, and building on this ideology means building a fundamentally uninvestable project in Europe. Now, let's translate this directly to the researchers and academics listening. How does this affect your Next Horizon Europe proposal? You all know the EU proposal excellence scorecard. Não, merda, isto não dá. Oh, EU, qual caralho. Now, let's translate this directly to the researchers and academics listening. How does this affect your next Horizon Europe proposal? You all know the EU proposal scorecard. Your success depends entirely on the impact, the excellence, the implementation sections. Europe demands human-centric AI. What is that? It's more than a buzzword. It's a scoring criteria. If you submit a project that blindly integrates massive US-based foundational models without questioning their energy footprint, their data ethics, well, your impact score will suffer. Why? Because you are directly violating the green transition goals. Furthermore, look at your implementation. If your consortium relies on infrastructure owned by the free global monopolies, you are building your science on, you could call it energy sand. Your research is driven by interests that are entirely opposed to open science and European data sovereignty. So evaluators will look at that. They know that funding projects locked into extractive US infrastructures is not really innovation. It's mostly subsidizing foreign monopolies with European taxpayer money. So to win funding in 2026, your proposal must prove technological autonomy, not dependency. Let's turn to the deep tech founders and innovation managers. Let's translate this energy debate into language your board understands: burn rate and scalability. Sam Altman is warning you that training and running these models burns energy at the scale of human populations. If that is true, and you do not own the data centers or the energy grid, what does that mean for your startup's ROI? It means your margins are an illusion. As compute costs skyrocket to match energy demands, your startup is basically operating as a sophisticated tax collection agency for AWS, Google, or Microsoft. Uh, True transitional innovation is not about competing on brute force and massive cheap clusters. That game is rigged. We had Luke Julie explain that to us in a previous episode. As I argue in the transition side in the economy, the winning strategy is competing on transition efficiency and data sovereignty. You win by deploying highly specialized, low compute models that solve specific industrial problems, green, health, logistics, whatever, without destroying the energy grid. So don't sell scale, sell efficiency. Do on Monday morning. Here are the three concrete action tasks to protect your projects and companies from this extractive trap that you can do Monday morning. First, in your next Horizon Europe draft, go to the excellence section. Don't just describe the AI tool. Explicitly audit and prove how your AI architecture augments human decision making and keeps human liability in the loop rather than replacing it. If you cannot prove human empowerment, rewrite it. Auditing. Explicitly auditing is something we'll come back to in the next episodes. Second task. Next time you pitch to European VCs or some other way of pitching your project, do not brag about the sheer size of the LLM you are integrating, you are using. Pitch your transition efficiency. Show them your high value per watt ratio. That's a good indicator. Prove that you own your proprietary data layer, just like Luke Julia said. Show them you are immune to Silicon Valley infrastructure tax. Let's call it this way. Third, first thing you can do Monday morning, your ultimate decision rule for consortiums. If the platform you are building on can change its API pricing tomorrow and kill your project's ROI or research scalability, drop it. Don't do that. Go a different way. Build radical interoperability from day one. Don't fund your own obsolescence. I don't know how to say it. Don't fund your own way to become obsolete. Take control of your transition. So we cannot let the future of the European economy be dictated by a philosophy that views humanity as a thermodynamic inefficiency. We are the ones who decide, we are the ones who live with the consequences. If you want the metrics, the data, and the rigorous frameworks to defend your projects and strategies from this extractive logic, go to my book, Transition Science in the Economy, or subscribe to the Docs newsletter to get the weekly insights. Share this episode with your research consortium, leave a comment, and remember, the future is measured, not guessed. See you next time.